people. Mr. President, there is nowhere I can say it except here. This is why I'm elected. If I cannot say these things on this floor, sir, I better resign and leave.
As elections give the citizens the chance to make their political decisions, constant demand for quality leadership from those they voted into office.
Look at us, man, there is nothing, we are starving. We should please do something.
It's also important to having a Nigeria of everyone's dream. Join 𝐴꞉ as it takes to task seasoned analysts, opinion makers, business professionals, and politicians on issues around politics, policies, governance, and leadership. Every Monday to Friday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. on your super dial, Mainland 98.3 FM will welcome you your ways as we discuss the situations.
Well, it's a Tuesday edition of the Situation Room, live on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. I want to believe your day has been going well so far. Well, it should be going well, especially with the suspension of the NLC-TUC nationwide strike earlier today. Well, it's been suspended for 5 days, and according to what the Labour said, to give the federal government, time to synergize and look for how we can make much progress. Well, you're live on Mainland 98.3 FM, and this is the Situation Room. We get to do these every Mondays to Fridays from 4 to 5:30 p.m. where we talk about policies, politics, political conversations around leadership, and especially as Nigerians constantly demand for dividends of democracy. The times are really tough. There's no point hiding that reality. But I mean, one of the beauty of democracy is that you try to get better. You try to find ways to improve the quality of lives of the people that voted into office, and even the ones that didn't vote into office. And that's exactly what democracy is about. And the unique thing about Nigeria's democracy, which I think it may not be growing at the pace at which we hope and want it to grow, but if you look at the fact that this fourth republic is the longest stretch of republic that we've had since our independence in 1960, 25 years of uninterrupted democracy. I mean, it's something for us to be hopeful about. Yesterday on the show, the son of the late Elijah Kudirat Abiola, Abdulmumin Abiola, was on the show with me yesterday, and one of the things I asked him was, do you think with the way Nigerians are right now, your parents, the late Moshood Kashima Lawal Abiola, the presidential candidate of the SDP in the Hope 93 election, or your mother that happened to be a huge pro-democracy campaigner that was assassinated exactly 28 years today in Lagos, do you think they will be proud of how Nigeria's democracy had evolved over the last few years? And he said, hey, we're not where we want to be, we're not where we think or we have the potential of where we should be, but we're making steady progress. And I totally want to align with that. When I was reading something that Transparency International did about the killing of late Elijah Kudirat Abiola, and then there were a lot of insinuations, and one of the things that Transparency International said was that the killing was politically motivated. And in 1998 or thereabout, during the Oputa panel sitting, remember the old Sergeant Rogers conversation saying that it was part of the assassination, whatever, it was an instruction from Al-Mustafa. All of those conversations, but 28 years down the line, how much have we gained from those sacrifices, those people that put their life on the line at the Nadeco frontiers, the people that constantly put pressure on the military, to restore democracy in this country. And 25 years down the line, we've put in our foot forward. Sometimes we've taken like 2 steps forward and about 20, 50 steps backward. But the most important thing is that we have a democracy that we're still nurturing. Last week Friday, the chief political editor of Guardian newspaper, Mr. Muyiwa Adeyemi, was with me on the show, and I asked him, if you have a 25-year-old son, what would be the expectations you would have on him? And he says, hey, at 25, you're no longer a boy, you're a man. You should be responsible for your decisions. You should be responsible for your mistakes. You should be responsible for your wins. And that's exactly how Nigerians are placing so much expectations on this democracy. And it can't come from anywhere else than from the quality of leaders that we choose. Leaders that would expect them to take us to our El Dorado as a nation. Leaders that would expect them to, put our interest as top of their priorities. And on the show today, I'm going to be joined by the executive director of the Electoral College, KUNLE LAWAL, and the Electoral College clocked 5 yesterday, and we're going to look at the journey and how they got to where they are and what would be the expectations going forward. And it's difficult, when you have a lot of people talking about, let there be coalition, let there be merger between the opposition parties, let them come together. I was on a conversation on one of the social media platforms day before yesterday, and the person was saying, that the current government that we have right now, prior to 2015 election, they were the people that were in the opposition, and when the former president Goodluck Jonathan increased the cost of petrol from, I think, 89 naira to 144 naira, the likes of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu now, the former governor of Kaduna State, that's Malam Nasir El-Rufai, the one-time vice presidential candidate of the CPC, that's Pastor Tunde Bakare, all of them took to the street, and there was a nationwide shutdown. And the person was saying, the same people now don't want people. And I asked a question. I said, where is the place of the opposition in this democracy? What happens to the Labour Party? What happens to the People's Democratic Party? What happens to Omoyele AAC? What happens to SDP? 18 political parties participated in the last election. In fact, in 2019, about 73 parties participated in the election, but INEC actually deregistered a couple of them. And what happened to the other 17 political parties? Why are they not asking questions? Since the president removed subsidy in 2023 on the 29th of May, why did it take us a whole year after before the Labour decided to go on a nationwide strike? Why do we wait for people to talk to us about how to nurture our democracy? And one of the answers I got was that, it depends on how we make our choices when it comes to electing our leaders. So I felt like, why not? We have a system that seems to, try to sell the message of proper leadership pattern, and that's exactly what the Electoral College Nigeria is about. KUNLE LAWAL is live with me on the show today, and for the next 55 minutes or thereabouts, we'll go through this journey together. The last 5 years of the Electoral College and what have been the issue. By the way, KUNLE LAWAL is also a politician. Let's put it that way. He was the senatorial candidate for Abuja, yes, in the 2019 election, if I'm not mistaken. KUNLE LAWAL, good to have you join us on the show today.
Great to be here. Good evening. It's always a pleasure to be here. And in 2019, there were actually 91 political parties.
91?
They had 73 presidential aspirants. 91. So 91 political parties at the time.
Interesting.
And I ran in 2019. I'm not that old.
Thank you very much. So we said this straight. There were 91 political parties, or 73 of them are fielded presidential candidates. But in the last election, we had just 18. I don't know, maybe we should just get straight up into the conversation, or we should just look at the last 24 hours in this country. The NLC and the TUC, put up the nationwide strike, and everything was literally on a lockdown. Banks didn't open, hospitals were shut, the national grid or whatever it was, the electricity, the TCN switched off electricity supply. Whether you're on band A or you're on Banky W or band W. Why is Banky W keep popping into my mouth? He's a friend, by the way. How did you take the event of the last 24 hours, especially with the announcement of the suspension of the strike for another 5 days? How did you take it, and the reaction and the effect of it on the Nigerian economy?
Well, first and foremost, I need to make this very clear. Understanding the economic indicators and the factors of production available in Nigeria and our general GDP and output generally as a country, I am aware that what Labour Party is asking for is outrageous, except you want to start to buy a bag of rice. What the Labour thinking in Labour Party, what the Labour Union is asking for, except you are going to have to buy a bag of rice at close to 1 million naira. Because it will be hyperinflation the moment this happens. Even though it might be moved up to 5 to 7, to get ready to buy a bag of rice at nearly close to 120,000. So because I'm aware of that, we're not producing that much and we're increasing, we're putting more money into this thing. I think what the government is trying to do is face hyperinflation. Now, if the labor unions had come out and said the allowances accrued to the National Assembly are outrageous compared to the minimum wage, and the National Assembly should go to minimum wage, I would have come up with them. I don't think on those and that. But what you're asking for, trying to put in more money into the economy, is not what saves the economy. What saves the economy is better standards, not more money to throw around. And that would cause inflation. So over the last 48 hours, I watched things shut down, full flight, no electricity, the small food that everybody can afford is getting stocked in the freezer. I was on the TV station yesterday. It was very hot in the studio. There was no AC being used. It was hectic, sitting down for 1 hour in the studio because they couldn't run. They had to use their inverter. They couldn't run the gen because of fear of this morning no light, and they had to do things. So yeah, we crippled the economy, but to what end? That's the question. Life in Aso Rock, and I think this Lagos boys need to understand this. Abuja doesn't run on the same sphere that the rest of the country runs on. Yes, there's no light in Abuja, but no light just to the common man in Abuja. On the other level, come on, there's light. There's amenities. So who exactly are you punishing? The same people that want more? It does not make sense. I understand the shutdown of airports. I understand the shutdown of ports. But I don't understand why it's been taken. And I blame the government for this. You privatize discos, you privatize other arms, you have the NERC, and you're still putting up to the TUC publicly. Why? It doesn't make literal sense. The TUC is not even profitable. And it's the biggest problem. Nigeria does not have a problem with generation of electricity. We have a problem with the distribution. Anyway, that's another kettle of fish on the story. But back to the story at hand. Over the last 48 hours in mayhem, the 5-day call off, I know government will have to settle for something like 70. But here's the clear difference. And I'll say this as a closing statement. Here's the false difference. In 2019, minimum wage was increased to 30,000 naira. So today, less than 50% of the states have it in effect. And what's most shocking is over 70% of the private workforce do not have 30,000 minimum wage in effect. Let's not talk about all of us that employ nannies and whatever, whether 30,000 is what we pay them, or our drivers and etc. So the real question is, are we actually asking for what is possible, or are we just trying to vent out against the system that we created with our own hands?
Okay, a lot of questions, and let's get straight up into the conversation. The idea of the Electoral College of Nigeria was conceived as a response to the urgent need for good governance, not only for the electorate, candidates, and political parties, but for the entire country. And let me tell you, the mission and the vision is to create a vibrant political landscape that fosters active participation and engagement amongst young Nigerians, empowering them to shape the future of their nation. It's 5 years down the line, Kunle Lawal. What had been the journey for you and everyone at the Electoral College?
Well, that's a question I never know how to answer, but I'll attempt to answer it. So it's been crazy, it's been hectic. I'll first say that for the Electoral College to survive and become one of Nigeria's top tier schools without any foreign grants, I think that shows the love of country of some people within this country. The Electoral College has trained over 11,000. It's been hectic. I remember when we started the Electoral College, people said it was post-election depression. That was the word used, that I was depressed by an election. I did well in my elections, though people felt I couldn't let go because I had a chance to become senator. But that's all past. Coming down, we pulled Lagos gubernatorial debate. We pulled multiple things. We created a 26 module that has trained multiple people that spans all areas of politics and governance. We remain non-partisan in everything we've done. I think one of the striking things with the Electoral College is its determination to change the game. And why it's particularly different from PSOs and also being Africa's first political literacy institution, why it's totally different, is that the Electoral College does not admonish people from being part of parties while in it. Only I, as the executive director, cannot be partisan. The Electoral College itself is not partisan. But to influx and work within political parties, train their polling agents, train people that are going to run for office, work around intra-party democracy. I had the opportunity of serving as National Public Secretary of KULE Party. At the time, I served also as Director of Strategy on that during the time of Professor ̀ɛ̀míṣọ̀nnáyà during my campaign, and then I rose up to become National Public Secretary. So we know the inner workings of political parties generally. I also have been part of writing most parties' constitutions, including the APC when it was being formed. And so we understand intra-party democracy, and that's why when other media houses and PSOs were screaming, "Go get your PVC," the Electoral College refused to join that or pull that line, and we kept saying clearly, join a political party and become a delegate. And people thought we were saying something wrong. But when the shocker came and presidential candidates emerged, the Electoral College came out and said, we do not have an election in Nigeria because Nigerians do not participate in partisan democracy. So what we have is a selection and not an election, because those people are picked for you and you have to pick from the Messiah and you see who you are going to vote for. If you're not participatory, then it's not a democracy. And 5 years down the line, we're so grateful for what we've done. We have a book for children which should come out. We're starting Electoral College clubs in secondary schools, pilot secondary schools. We've taken it also to primary schools, and we're working on all that this year. And amazingly, we are no more the Electoral College Nigeria. With effect for, I think, about July next year, we will be known as the Electoral College Africa. It will just be the Nigerian arm, because we're extending to Rwanda, Ethiopia, and Namibia in the next 2 or 3 months. So I think we will then be talking about facing political literacy in Africa. And I would say the journey has been great. What we've done in 5 years, come on, it's still a dream. Yesterday was a dream. We're impressed, but I would say we are not relenting. Our target is by 2031 to have educated over 1 million Nigerians, and we're nowhere near there. So I'm more in tune with what I want, or I'm more focused than I ever was with the college. Thank you.
Thank you very much for leading us into that conversation. Now let's open it up a bit. The last election that we had in 2023 certainly left us with a lot of scar that I don't think we've healed from those scars. I mean, talking about an election that divided us along so many sentiments, along tribal sentiments. People voted because, oh, he's my tribal man. Agendas of a tribe was even sold from the political class. People voted along religious sentiment, or people were saying, oh, it's a Muslim ticket for the presidency, it's a this, it's a that. People also voted along, ethnic issues. Oh, it's by this. And there were a lot of issues that played out in that election. But more essentially is the fact that a lot of Nigerians, galvanized energies for that election. When INEC released the statistics for the registration, the PVCs collected, the distribution, the demographics, it gave a lot of Nigerians, especially people like us on the other side of sensitization, the hope that the turnout is going to be huge. But it turned out to be that election had about the lowest turnout we've had. With, if you put it per the percentage of the people that collected their PVCs or the registered PVC. At the Electoral College, political literacy had always been the core conversation for you. How do we drive the issue of participation in election? I'm not just talking of people coming to vote on election day alone, Mr. Lawal. I'm talking about people being involved. You make mention of the process of the delegate process. How do we galvanize that energy to make people know that election goes beyond voting? Election is a complete process, and how do you push people into getting involved in all of that?
First, I'd like to highlight the fact that the 2023 election is actually the worst election Nigeria has ever had by out, in addition to number of registered people that participated in the election. The worst election, worst percentage ratio in Nigeria. The last time we had 50% in 2015 election. And we also declared to allege that Nigerians have never not voted on religious or sentimental or tribal lines in Nigeria. The only time that we chose to avoiding tribe and religion was the 1993 election, which were botched. That's the only time Nigeria seems to deviate. But we went back to our usual tradition when in 1999. And we've remained that way since. I think what is missing in Nigeria first is, and the Electoral College is key on this, which is why we have a program, Law for Country. The Electoral College clearly understands that Nigerians need to be Nigerian first before they can make decisions that would be Nigerian. You cannot expect a Nigerian decision from somebody who sees himself as ethnic, Yoruba, Hausa, Fulani, Chief, Chukun, Tarok, or whatever. You can't expect that kind of decision. A common adage within the Electoral College is that until we walk out of the canoe of ethnicity, we will never swim the waters of diversity. And we were clear on that, and we try to incorporate that in all our students. We not only teach politics, we ensure or try to consolidate character. And we tested this, and we also understand that the Nigerian climate allows for us to only think in a particular way. So we have the laws of politics, which are very clear and very well stated. But we've created a culture of politics which is a total deviation from what the law says, what the Electoral Act says. Most people do not even know that as a local government chairman, you have a limit on campaign expenditure, which I think is about 30 million right now. But parties are very proud to sell chairmanship forms at 10 million. If you bought a chairmanship form at 10 million,
what do you do with the
remaining
20 million?
Yeah, so even parties do not adhere to these restrictions. And I blame INEC. As much people not want to call out INEC, I cannot stand INEC on the fact that INEC itself deviates itself from the Electoral Act. And I'll point out something now. You see, most people are complaining about things that happened during the election, statistics, maybe INEC output or whatever. I'll tell you what happened from the beginning. So sometimes, I think somewhere 9-1 or 9-2 in the Electoral Act, I can't show which exact number it is. It clearly states that no political party should be able to conduct a primary or a convention if it has not submitted its total membership list, electronic and physical copies to INEC, which clearly states, and no party met this in full capacity in 2023. So 18 political parties, all their conventions, all their primaries are null and void because we flawed this. And INEC didn't flank this down, or didn't flag this down. And this happened. So from the beginning, if the people do not know the laws, or the people do not understand what needs to be done to ensure a democracy within our elections or within the process, how would you get a good product? You can't leave the process and expect a good product. It's like it's not possible. When you are cooking, you don't add Maggi, you don't add salt, yet you want the food to taste nice. It won't work. And that's what we do.